But proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and as you guys know, today is Wednesday, and Wednesday is White House Wednesday, where we interview presidential candidates. Today on the show, we have Judge Jim Gray, who's running for president as a Libertarian for this year's 2020 election. Judge, welcome to the show.
Well, Andrew, thank you. I've been looking forward to it. I expect that this show will be similar to what we great libertarians call AMA, which means Ask Me Anything. And I'll bet you dollars to donuts, Andrew, that neither Biden nor Trump submit themselves to an AMA throughout the entire election. But I'm here with you and looking forward to it.
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys are interested in sending in some questions here, feel free to jump on the Facebook page, on the Twitter live stream, or the Facebook live stream. Pop your question in the comments, and as they're scrolling by, if I catch it, we'll go through and we'll ask it. But first thing I want to do is give you a chance to kind of introduce yourself, let the voters know who you are, a little bit about your background, and, just give them a chance to get to know you on a personal level.
Okay, well, thank you, Andrew. I probably, take away the probably, have a best background and record than any presidential candidate in this race from any party. I was in the Peace Corps for 2 years in Costa Rica. Todavía puedo hablar español como la gente. I was then actually led a peace march back when I was in law school in May of 1980, when we led it from the campus of USC to the steps of City Hall in L.A., mailed 20,000 letters to President Nixon saying, get our troops out of Cambodia. Within the irony of my life, within about 2 or 3 months, I was on a midshipman cruise with the Navy in the rivers of Vietnam, where the entire crew of the USS Meeker County were awarded combat action ribbons. So I went from peace march to war in that time. But thereafter, I was a Navy JAG officer in the Navy. I adopted a son from Vietnam during the Vietnam War. He's now 47 years old and thriving here in the Los Angeles area. I came back and was a federal prosecutor in Los Angeles. I ended up heading a unit prosecuting frauds against the FHA and VA and put several bank vice presidents in prison, by the way. And then I was a judge for 25 years here in Orange County, California. I did something highly unusual for a judge back in 1992, actually held a press conference. And by the way, Andrew, judges do not do that. But I stated as a former drug warrior that our nation's policy of drug prohibition had failed. We could do almost anything, and it would be better than what we were doing then. Took a lot of heat for it, and actually put my professional life at some risk. But the DA didn't like it much, and the sheriff didn't either. But I survived, and they didn't. But so I was an elected judge for 25 years. I see problems in our country, or in our society, and actually put up programs to address them. For example, within 6 months of my taking the bench, in 1984, I had the first drug court up and running in the country, as far as I know, for alcohol-related offenses. I received letters from people like, Dear Judge Gray, I was going to divorce my husband because he'd get drunk and hit me and be irresponsible with our children, but now that he's off alcohol, now that he's on your program, thank you, you've given me my husband back, things like that. So got an award from the Mothers Against Drunk Driving, too, which are pretty tough dudes, feeling at that time that really the longer you put people in jail, the better judge you are. But here I showed that we're actually addressing the issue and reducing drinking driving. So, it's a practical thing. I was a lifelong Republican until the passage of the so-called Patriot Act in 2002, which, by the way, and I can't verify this, but I understand was actually on the shelf prior to 9/11. They just took it out with the time of fear and just passed it then, which I saw as a direct frontal attack on our civil liberties. Could not be a part of any group that would condone, much less assist that. So I left the Republican Party, and it really, I remember the transition, Andrew. It took me 13 seconds to decide I really am a libertarian. So let's discuss what a libertarian is. I've written a musical, actually. I've written two, but the most recent is called Convention, The Birth of America, and it's about our 1787 Constitutional Convention. It's fun, but it's historically accurate and kind of stimulating. But I found in my research that, okay, all 55 delegates to the Constitutional Convention, they bickered, they fought, they debated, but the thing that each one agreed upon was the most important function of government is protecting our rights, our liberties, and our freedoms from the encroachment of government. You know, that's pretty strong stuff that's in our genes. Number two import, by the way, was keeping us safe. So we've wandered away from that. I will be the first president that actually takes presidential power and gives it back to Congress like a declaration of war. We will not put our troops in combat for longer than 60 days unless Congress issues a declaration of war. I'll take some of this power and give it back to the states and to the people. I mean, that's just the more local, the better. But, for example, who's in a better position to decide where and how your children should be educated? You as the parent or the government? And never have I heard anything other than, no, it's the parents. They should be empowered to choose where their government money is spent for the education of their children. Then you get to places like, New Orleans or Milwaukee or Indiana, and they will demand excellence, and the schools will be in competition, so they'll get better. So it just goes on and on. I am running for president as a libertarian. I'm proud of that, with my record, with my balance, my leadership. And I was a judge, like I said, for 25 years, and I was trained to listen. You know, to listen, to evaluate evidence, to assess the credibility of the source of the evidence, to consider, and then make a decision, and then explain it. And that's what our country needs. We're so polarized today. We're becoming so tribal that it's just time for a new third voice to come forward who's been there, who's stood up to criticism and done the right thing for the right reason, and will be a unification, not only for the Libertarian Party, but for America. I really believe that. And by the way, I've asked one of your favorite sons, Larry Sharp of New York City, to run as my running mate, and he is. So I am pleased to say, go to graysharp2020.com, learn a lot about us, and as I say, ending my comments, if you support us, if you join us, if you help us move mountains, or even if you don't, we will do you proud.
Yeah, no, and actually, I was very, very excited to hear that Larry Sharp was entering into the vice presidential race, and when I heard the two of you teamed up, I knew I had to reach out and get you on the show, especially because we've got a convention coming up here soon, and I wanted to make sure that people had the chance to hear from you, kind of, learn who you are, what you stand for. And I think that this is a great opportunity. I like a lot of what you've said so far. It sounds very much in line with the things we talk about on the show all the time. And I would maybe pose the first question to you is, do you see a path to victory in this election?
Well, Andrew, actually, yes. I understand it's a long shot, but we understand very fully. Excuse me a moment. We understand fully that we will not be able to compete in large states like California. We won't have the tens of millions of dollars that are raised and spent there. New York, Texas, I mean, whatever happens, Biden is going to win New York and California. Trump is going to win Texas. We're going to go to probably 5 small states, independent states. Larry has already agreed, so have I. We'll spend a lot of time there. We'll go to their town hall meetings when they're opened up. We'll go to their Kiwanis Club meetings and their grocery stores and look people in the eye and say, your vote will make history. That if we win like 2 or 3 small states with maybe 38 to 40% of the vote, win 2 or 3 small states, it very likely will keep the President Trump's and Vice President Biden's from being able to get a majority in the Electoral College. Then it will go to the House of Representatives for the outcome of the election. And I guarantee you, Andrew, that no Republican there is going to vote for Biden and no Democrat there is going to vote for Trump. But the Constitution requires that they just have a choice limited to the top 3 finishers in the election, and the Libertarian candidate, Judge Jim Gray, could very well regain the presidency. But, even if we only won one state, it would be a revolution for our country, for our party, that forevermore you'd look at these election maps thereafter and you'd see the blue state victories and the red state. Oh, what's this gold state up there? Oh, that's Libertarian. We need to help our down-ballot candidates, the people running for mayor, for city council, for assembly, that sort of thing. And this will give that inspiration and give that leadership because people want choice. Let me end it with this. Thomas Jefferson, you've probably heard of the fellow, after we passed the Constitution, made the comment that, look, we need to have a bloody revolution every generation to keep the vested interests at bay. Okay, fortunately, the Constitution makes it not have to be bloody in that revolution, but how long has it been, Andrew? Maybe since the 1860s when the Republicans took over from the Whigs, and look at the vested interests today, inside government and outside government, that they have government under control. The cronyism is just enormous, and the Libertarian Party literally is the only political party that does not want to profit by being involved in government.
There you go. That is Judge Jim Gray. He is running for president as a Libertarian in this year's 2020 election. You're listening to Radio Free New York. We'll be back in a moment.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
College Assistance Plus has worked with thousands of families, saving them millions of dollars. It can be stressful choosing the right college, but we're here to help. CA Plus will guide you from college visits to college graduation and through every step in between. Each student and family situation is different, and we work to accommodate those specific needs. Call today for a free family meeting, 585-582-1846, or visit collegeassistanceplus.com for more information. College is expensive. College Assistance Plus can help.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right. right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. Today is White House Wednesday, where we interview presidential candidates about their background, their platform, and today we have Judge Jim Gray, who is running for president in the 2020 election as a libertarian. Judge, welcome to the show, and let's talk about your top 3 policies. If you get elected in November, what are the top 3 things that you want to implement in the White House as president?
Well, thank you for that, Andrew. I'd prefer you had the top 17 because there are really quite a few, but I'll narrow the choices. That first of all, we must understand that the United States of America cannot, must not, will not throw our troops into these various battles all around the world. That we're not the nation's policemen. Frequently, we cause more disruption, more harm. Syria and going into Iraq. I was actually campaigning for U.S. Senate as a libertarian in 2004 when people were talking about putting troops into Iraq. I said publicly to anyone that would listen that if we do that, it will be the biggest mistake of my lifetime, and nothing has happened since that time to change my mind. However, had we insisted upon following the Constitution and requiring Congress to issue a declaration of war, we then would have looked at this. Well, what is the threat to our security, our national interest? Who is the enemy? What are our goals? How will we know when we accomplish them? It would never have passed Congress, but they, copped out and just did it politically. So that's number one. Number 2 would be to employ what I call sunset provisions. That is to say, we're going to audit the federal government by requiring each agency to come to Congress individually, every 5 years or so, and show what have we done? What were our goals for the last 5 years? What have we accomplished? How much did we spend? Okay, now what are your goals for the next 5 years? What do you wish to accomplish? How much do you wish in your budget? And we can look at it. Well, no, that's duplicative. We don't need that anymore. Oh, this part over here, it goes back to the New Deal. Maybe we needed it back in the 1930s, but do we need it now? No, let's restrict that. Okay, this is a good idea. Concentrate on that. Shrink their budget, make them more lean and mean, and employ the phrase, the mantra, really, that Milton Friedman said, which we should judge our programs by the results, not their good intentions. And if we just do that, we get rid of these things that just don't work in our government. So it's laden with that. So some of these agencies, by the way, like the Bureau of Indian Affairs, for example, can be abolished. There was some famous person that once said, anyone that feels they can thrive by relying on the government should talk to the American Indian. I mean, that's almost all you have to say. Native Americans call the Bureau of Indian Affairs, BIA, bossing Indians around. But let's look at it as a country, assess it, audit it, and then see where we need to go from there. If you want to get discouraged, by the way, go to Google the words The Plum Book, the plum like the fruit, and you will see a federal publication. I think it's 212 pages, single-spaced, of all of the offices in the federal government that are appointed by the president, half of which are confirmed by the Senate. And you look off to the right-hand column, and each one pays something like $168,000 to $198,000 a year. Do we really need all those people? Well, if we do, fine, but let's prune that back, because government has become the privileged class, I believe, in our world today. And the last one would be, okay, we call it from a crutch to a ladder. And that means that, and I can go through this, it's a Milton Friedman program as well, that we provide incentives for people to get off welfare, to climb out of poverty. Every time you have an incentive to earn the extra dollar, which is totally untrue today in the welfare state. People have found, in fact, my daughter has given me permission to talk about this. She's now 44, and she's bipolar, and she really can't hold a job. So I went behind her back. She was volunteering for a VLI, which is the Veterans Legal Institute, wonderful organization. And I told their director, look, if you hire my daughter and pay her $12 an hour, I will pay her I will pay you $15 an hour. But we quickly found, Andrew, that if she works more than 10 hours a week, she will lose more benefits from her Social Security than she gains by working. It's stupid. This crutch to a ladder, Larry Sharp and I designed, will help people climb out of poverty, and it will assist, single moms, give them that leg up so that they can start to go back to school and thrive. People that have just been released from prison, people that were trying to make ends meet, and it just will work. So these are things we need to bring back incentives, because incentives help. the final comment I would say on that is that Thomas Sowell, who is a wonderful economist, made the comment that, look, the first rule of economics is scarcity. There's never enough goods and services to meet the demand. But the first rule of politics is to ignore the first rule of economy. And that's simply something that we need to shine a light on. I care about people. I was in the Peace Corps. I want them to climb out of poverty. I want them to thrive. And these programs will help all of that occur.
Very good. Yeah, and I do actually have a question here. It comes from Garrett on YouTube, related to your policy on essentially stopping wars and getting approval from Congress. Garrett wants to know if you would be decommissioning our bases in foreign countries.
Thank you for that, Garrett, because the answer is yes. It was Ron Paul who said, and I take his statistics, the United States of America has something on the order of 400 military reservations around the world. And as far as I'm concerned, if they're necessary for our national security, keep them, even refurbish them if we need to. But any audit at all, including the military approach and State Department and the rest, any audit at all, after, 30 days will determine, we could close at least 300 of those without half trying and be safer. And, if you were to have a naval air station, say the Canadians, Andrew, had a naval air station 10 miles away from your home, those planes would fly low, they'd start to be annoying you, maybe some of their people would get high on drugs or something and flirt with our women or whatever, you'd stop liking Canadians pretty soon. And that's happened with our country. If they're necessary, fine. I do think, though, Garrett, that we have a national interest in having free trade. Free shipping lanes, and it may be very well. We may need a few military reservations, ports, whatever, around the world to help us do our part to keep those shipping lanes open. But easily, within the first 6 months, we could, assuming we'd have to keep our commitments and agreements, that if we had treaties or we assigned leases or something, we'd have to keep those, renegotiate them. Once those leases are over, we could close at least 300 of those. Then we could all look at the remaining 100 and see which ones they should have. So the answer basically is yes, but it has to be a realistic yes.
Great. And I've got another question here. We've got maybe about 2.5, 3 minutes for it. I think this one also came from Garrett, but the comments are moving kind of quick on me. What is your drug policy? Some people want to see federal legalization. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I don't think clearly no one in this race has the credentials that I do for speaking out against and acting out against drug prohibition, the war on drugs. What I would do immediately is to take marijuana off the schedules and allow each state to decide how best to serve and protect its people. I would strongly recommend that, in effect, they treat marijuana like wine. Today, don't take my word for it, Garrett. Ask the first 10 teenagers you find. If you wanted to, what would be easier for you to get, marijuana or alcohol? And everyone would say, if they wanted to, it'd be easier to get the marijuana. Why? Because the drug dealers don't ask for ID. Let's regulate it and control it. Take away a lot of money from, juvenile street gangs. I've seen this in juvenile court, Andrew, that juvenile street gangs use the sale of illegal drugs as a recruiting tool. Hey, you want to make some money? Join our gang. That's not a healthy thing. You look at Mexico, by the way, and all of the corruption and all of the crime, all the beheadings have nothing to do with drugs at all. It's all drug money that causes those. Same thing in our country. And it's our drug money that does it. So, yes, I would regulate and control. I would repeal the so-called Controlled Substances Act and allow each state to decide how best to serve and protect its people. What I would say on this, Andrew Downey Jr., very successful actor, making good movies, but he's had a lifelong problem with heroin, for example. It makes as much sense to me to put Robert Downey Jr. in jail for his heroin problem as it would have Betty Ford in jail for her alcohol problem. Of course, she was the wife of President Gerald Ford and an acknowledged alcoholic. Bring them closer to medical professionals that can help them instead of rendering them automatic criminals and pushing them farther away. But if Robert Downey Jr., Betty Ford, you or I drive a motor vehicle impaired by, you name it, methamphetamines, which scares me to death, heroin, cocaine, alcohol, which is my drug of choice, that's a crime. What's the difference? Now, by their actions, they're putting our safety at risk, a legitimate criminal justice issue. When it comes down to it, in my view, the federal government, or any government, has as much right to control what I as an adult put into my body as it does what I put into my mind. It's none of their business.
There you go, guys. This is Judge Jim Gray, who you're listening to. He is running for president in the 2020 election as a libertarian. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Now, more than twice the power.
WYSL.
More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the Newsted NBC Weather Center for tonight. We'll have clear skies, a bit cool out there. We'll drop down into the 40s on Thursday. Plenty of sunshine once again. Temperatures in the low to mid 70s, but it will be cooler near Lake Ontario. For Friday, we'll look for a mixture of sun and clouds in the 70s. There could be a shower Friday evening or Friday night. I'm Rich Cornelia on WYSL.
There's a place in the village of Avon you and your critters will love. Whether they're big or small, whether they've got hair, fur, or feathers, Avon Feed fits every need. There's a full selection of pet foods for dogs and cats, bird feeders, suet, and dry shot boots and garden shoes. They've got grass and clover seed too. Check out their frequent flyer birdseed program. Buy 10 bags of birdseed, get the next bag free. Choose farm feeds and great equine products like Blue Seal and Nutrina, plus pull and grains. Everything for your pet from feeding bowls to toys, leads, collars, and tie-outs. Avon Feed and Supply has what the big pet chain stores will never have. Tim Cole and his great knowledgeable staff. And if you think you'll save money at that pet superstore, well, think again. While you're at Avon Feed, don't forget the two-legged pets with River Rat 1000 Island cheese and great flavors including hard-to-find mean and nasty. Plus, once again, nut butters, Nunde mustards, and Rickles pickles. Open weekdays 9 to 6, Saturday 9 to 4. Avon Feed and Supply. West Main Street at the bottom of the hill, just west of the Circle.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Hi, Bob Savage here, hoping you're safe and well and that your business or business plans are persevering during the COVID shutdown. We at the WYSL stations have some good news for business owners and managers. As the virus abates, you want your business name, image, and message to be top of mind for consumers with pent-up demand. That's why we're offering free advertising. Actually, 2 months worth of free advertising. Also, free basic copywriting and creative as well. No hidden charges. We're doing this to help new businesses and businesses which were completely shut down by government order to get established and back on their feet. After those 2 months, once your cash flow and operations are stable, you're off and running, you're on an inexpensive paid schedule for a few months, but that's only after your free schedule. WYSL accepts all major credit cards, and we have easy terms for qualified advertisers. Get ready for the great reopen. Get the word out about your business on the powerful, affordable voice of liberty, WYSL, and get your free 2 months of advertising. Call 346-3000 today.
Our community is strong. Even when we can't be together, we stand together as families, neighbors, and local businesses helping each other. As an essential business and community partner, Tompkins is here for you with online and mobile banking, programs to help our lending customers, and peace of mind, knowing that our focus is you. We're here to help you stay strong, get through this, and rebuild. For our customers and for our community, Tompkins Bank of Castile is here.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Smith Lumber and Hardware Center in Lakeville offers Tommy Docks, designed to be the highest quality, most user-friendly do-it-yourself dock system on the planet. Tommy Docks' patented hardware design delivers strength and superior stability to your dock. The system is completely modular, creating a multitude of different dock layout configurations. Whether standard dock design or custom setup, the Tommy Docks system makes doing it yourself easy. Available at Smith Lumber and Hardware Center, Route 20A in Lakeville.
Smith Lumber has Ring of Fire flares.
Sheriff Thomas Doherty would like to remind everyone to wear a helmet when riding your bike. Helmets can reduce head injuries by 85%. Make sure your bicycle is in good working condition. Be sure to wear clothing that makes you more visible. Try to avoid riding a bicycle at night. It is a lot more dangerous than during the day. You need to stay alert at all times, watching for obstacles in your path. Bicycles are considered vehicles, so you need to obey the same rules as motorists. When riding your bike, use your head and protect your head.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. Today we have Judge Jim Gray on the call with us. He is running for president as a libertarian, and this is the round where we ask just some questions, and I think the first question that people want to know when they hear libertarians speak about running for office, they agree with the ideals. They say, yeah, that sounds great. The first question that comes to mind is, if elected, how would you be able to work with Democrats and Republicans to actually get things done?
Sure, Andrew. And first of all, when I'm elected, I'd get such attention that if, in fact, we would take things over the heads of the Congress and go to the people, and then have the people, in effect, surround their members of Congress. But in addition, yes, we will have in our cabinet and administration independents and libertarians, without a question, but we'll also have Republicans and Democrats, as long as they agree with our philosophy, our approach, our principles, responsibility at all levels of society, live and let live, don't tread on me, and don't tread on anybody sort of thing. And if they did, then we kind of have what Abraham Lincoln called a team of rivals. So if we're having problems with Republicans politically or Democrats, hey, go talk to your colleagues. Let's get on board. Let's talk with each other. Let's do things on the merits. Let's get this stuff done. And I think that the American people would heave a huge sigh of relief if that were to happen. And candidly, so are most of the Democrats and Republicans. It's just an exciting prospect.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what about things that have been kind of before coronavirus were hot topics? I know coronavirus has really dominated the media, dominated the home discussions, but once we pass this coronavirus time, some of these other issues are going to surface. One of the big things being student debt. Some of the candidates have talked about some sort of student debt forgiveness program or something like that. What is your thoughts on student debt in the United States?
Sure. And let me go back to Alexis de Tocqueville in 1820 with his book Democracy in America. And he said that democracy is a great experiment and it will work until the politicians figure out that they can buy people's votes with their own money. So we don't believe in rebates. We don't believe in bailing out companies. We believe in responsibility. So if you look at that, and it sounds wonderful, oh, poor baby, we're going to forgive that debt. But what are you going to look at then? Okay, so someone was really responsible, and they worked while they went to college. They went to a junior college to save money. They didn't build up all this debt, and they got their degree without being in debt. Are you going to repay them for having done that? No one's talking about that. But you're going to tax them, in effect, to pay for people that widely borrowed money and the rest. An additional problem is, and we're going to have to shut this down, the government has been, in effect, loaning people money or underwriting some of those loans, which just results in increased expenses. Anytime, like I go back to the banking crisis where the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac would guarantee home loans. Transparently, they wouldn't be able to pay them, but why not if the government's borrowing on them, and then the whole thing fell apart? Those things are caused by government intervention. So, no, I'm sympathetic and the rest, but you're going to have to work it out yourself. The government is not going to bail out bad decisions.
Yeah, and I think right now, especially, government is busy doing a lot of bailouts. I don't think there's any money left to begin with at this point. One question we do have, this is from Tim on Facebook, and I'm not as familiar with this part of your platform. Tim is asking if your negative income tax is really universal basic income.
The answer, Tim, is no. I don't know how I keep getting those things, or people get those things confused. Universal basic income would be providing a certain amount of money, per month, to everyone in the country. You, me, Bill Gates, everyone else. Of course, what are they going to do? Okay, so Bill Gates gets $500 every month, and then the government taxes him an extra $30,000 to pay for other stuff. The answer is no, and there's no incentives connected to that. The negative income tax, or what we call a crutch to a ladder, by Milton Friedman, would provide a stipend to people to be able to lift themselves, work themselves out of poverty. But for every dollar that they would earn, for example, between $0 and $30,000, they would lose half of their stipend. They would lose 50 cents for every dollar that they earned. So they have that incentive to earn the extra dollar. And then we can get rid of a lot of these other welfare programs. You know, the food stamps that don't trust people to spend their own money wisely, the aid to dependent children, the welfare. Today, Andrew, most welfare systems, if you are a father of a child or an unwed mother, you have every incentive financially not to live with the mother, not to live with the child, because she will lose so much in welfare. So that pushes them, breaks up families. I mean, all of the incentives in today's welfare system are wrong. I already mentioned my daughter, and that's just one example. So the crutch to a ladder will provide incentives for people to lift themselves out of poverty. And it will help those people along the way. Like I said, if you're a convicted felon that's just been released from prison, you can get that buttress, you can get that start, and get the intrusion of government out of your life. As well as, by the way, it would be connected to a graduated flat tax. About 80% of the intrusion of the IRS, the bureaucracy, the fraud, the administrative costs would be gone under this. You could file your tax return on a postcard, almost literally. I must confess.
Yeah, I like the idea of a smaller IRS. That sounds like something I can sign up for.
Yes.
Yep.
It's not purist, it's not ideologically pure. It still remains some IRS, but at least instead of 100% of it, we only have about 20% of it left. It's a good program.
So what about things that you envision vetoing if you were president? What do you anticipate coming to the desk that you will veto?
We will go over the heads of Congress on this one if we must, and get a line item veto for the president. Because Congress now, it's crony capitalism. They put in all of these tax breaks for their cronies, for their wealthy constituents. Or they would have their pet projects be funded, and they put it in. Are we going to continue with mother and wealth and hair and the court system? And then they attach these riders, and by the way, we're going to also spend $10 million for my pet project. A line item veto, the president would be able to pass sign the legislation, but along the way cross out these various riders, cross out that various cronyism. So that's the first thing that would be important. Talk about let them bring that bill on its own, and we can weigh its merits, but you're not going to put it in as a rider on something else. And that would cut down the deficit almost by a third, just that in itself. So that is top on my list. Others, I would have a commission to look into people that have been convicted of federal crimes. If they were factually innocent, we would look into it because, Andrew, there are people in prison today in our country that literally are factually innocent, which is an atrocity. So we'd look at that. And then, okay, maybe you were rightfully guilty of that offense, but sentenced for 30 years? No, 5 years in prison, Andrew, is a long time. So we would commute a lot of those sentences, that sort of thing. That's not a veto as such, but it would oversee this. And by the way, I was a federal prosecutor. I will instruct the Attorney General. She will instruct every U.S. attorney and assistant U.S. attorney. Prosecutors act in our name. They will do the right thing for the right reason every time. Politics be damned. We're going to do the right thing for the right reason. That's not a veto either, but high on my list.
Very good. Very good. It looks like we've got about a minute and a half left on this segment. Samantha on YouTube wants to know about marriage licenses. Would you continue them? Would you eliminate them? Can we get government out of mandating marriage licenses?
Okay, well, regretfully, the answer to that is no, because that's not a federal issue. But Samantha, do you know that our country went along without having government marriage licenses for a long time until, and I think it started in the South, they wanted the anti-miscegenation laws to be passed. They didn't want interracial marriage. So what did they do to control that? Oh, you have to come in person to the government, and we look at, oh, I'm sorry, you are interracial. We're not going to give you a marriage license. This is an atrocity. The government shouldn't be issuing marriage license. It shouldn't have anything to do with it, but it's a local matter, not a federal matter. I will lead by example.
There you go. So maybe bring light to the issue from the bully pulpit, if you will.
Yes.
All right, guys, you are listening to Judge Jim Gray. He is running for president in the 2020 election this year as a libertarian. We're going to take our last break of the hour. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
It's time to reopen Livingston County. We're a group of citizens advocating an immediate end to so-called pause orders, threatening the livelihoods of local business owners and free choice for consumers. We believe all businesses are essential and all workers are essential workers. We urge everyone to support your local small business and small business owners to open back up immediately. Permanent economic losses are far more dangerous than the hyped COVID scare. Reopen Livingston, a group of your concerned neighbors and citizens proud of our freedoms and our Constitution.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. Today we have Judge Jim Gray on the line. He is running for president in this year's 2020 election as a libertarian. And we're now in our lightning round where we just have a little bit of fun, a couple short answers, a couple short questions. Some of them are policy-based, some of them are not. They're just personal preference. But we'll start off with a policy-based one, which is, do you envision the elimination of Social Security, and is that a good idea?
The answer is no, I don't, because it would be an enormous breach of contract. We have extorted money at almost the point of a gun from people for decades, making them pay into this. And we believe in contracts. We believe in giving them back what we have promised. But whenever you're digging a hole for yourself, the first rule is stop digging. We're going to stop it from now. We'll probably let people opt out and buy out their interests so that they can put them into private programs. And from here on, people are going to invest in 401k programs. We'll eliminate the additions to Social Security, but we must keep our contracts for the people that have paid in already.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I
Andrew,
like the idea of being able to
let me ask you a question for a
buy
minute.
out. Go ahead.
I'm sure it's burning on your mind, but what do you get when you cross an elephant and a rhinoceros? What do you get when you cross an elephant and a rhinoceros?
I don't even know. Congress?
That's good. The answer is Elephino.
Yep, there you go. There you go. Yep. Camaro or Corvette?
Camaro or Corvette? Actually, I prefer a sedan. I'm more utility-minded.
There you go. There you go. What about term limits for Congress?
I think that's a good idea. I would modify it a little bit, maybe 5 consecutive terms, 2-year terms in the House, and 2 consecutive 6-year terms in the Senate, then require them to stay off for one term. And then if they want to rerun again and the voters want them back, they can do that. But that would cut out this seniority stuff and the polarization. So that would be my modification. By the way, I'd also put term limits for the Supreme Court justices. Then we're not going to appoint somebody that's 40 years old because if they're there for, let's say, 15 years. You're more likely to appoint somebody with more experience.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's something I haven't thought of. Should Election Day be a federal holiday?
No. I think that if people are going to go to the beach, they're going to go to the beach. I want voters who are, and I'm not elitist. I want voters that are actually going to care, look into the issues, look into the candidates. And so if you're a caring voter, you're going to vote. Otherwise, make it a federal holiday, I think just encourages people to enjoy themselves at the beach, but not necessarily to vote.
What about your favorite person in history?
Okay. Winston Churchill was a leader. He had a lot of interesting characteristics about him, but he was a leader that at the time of need, he'd been consistent and he led a people to victory. He's probably high on my list.
Okay. And does pineapple belong on pizza?
That depends where you live, I guess. If you live in Hawaii, it certainly does. If you live in New York, I don't think it does. California, we put feta cheese on instead.
Oh, there you go. That's a new one. What about, do we need a Department of Education?
The answer is no. I would we use my sunset laws and focus on this. Our educational system, Andrew, was so much better before the Carter administration put in the Department of Education. I would freeze it out and try to eliminate it.
Great. And is it soda or is it pop?
Actually, I drink sparkling water. I don't drink any pop anymore.
There you go. So
although I
one
lived
thing that
for
we
2
didn't
years
cover
in Costa Rica on what they called Cuba Libre, which was rum and Coke, but that was a while ago.
Oh, there you go. Yep. So one thing that we didn't cover that I know listeners to the show are very passionate about is Second Amendment policy. So do you guys have a Second Amendment policy, or at least give us your stance? What are your thoughts on the Second Amendment?
Well, the Libertarian Party is strongly backing the Second Amendment and the gun rights. And candidly, I'm not a gun enthusiast. I don't go that direction. But just like I've never used illicit drugs, it's a matter of responsibility. It's a matter of liberty. I strongly support the Second Amendment.
Awesome. Very good. And so I know a question that's come up in the past is, things like bump stocks. Is that something that you think you would roll back, you would leave in place? What are your thoughts?
Well, Andrew, life is complicated. I'm sorry to be so blunt. When I was a federal prosecutor, I prosecuted a man for being in possession of a machine pistol. A machine pistol is only meant for assassination. I mean, you're not going to go hunt deer or whatever else for that. So I think there should be some weapons that are not available An atomic bomb is probably one of them. So I'm not smart enough to know where to draw the line, but there are some that I think should not be in private possession.
Okay. And do we have a problem with fake news right now?
We have a problem with polarization and fake news and the rest. It starts at the top in a lot of ways. People, as a judge, again, I would assess information, the credibility of the sources. I did something, really one of my triumphs in parenting. I was driving my small 3 children down south, went by a strawberry field, and they had plastic over the field. I'm not sure why, to keep the humidity in the soil or whatever. And I said, "Look, kids, that's where they raise plastic." "Oh, really, Daddy? Oh, really?" And I said nothing. And maybe 5 miles down the road, one of my kids said, "Oh, come on, Dad." Teach people to question the source of the information. And we've gotten away from that. So particularly now, you can Photoshop almost anything. You have to be questioning before you start believing what you're hearing.
So it sounds like you would advocate for a deeper education on fact finding.
Just a deeper inquiry. I'm not going to censor, but there's a lot of crazy stuff out there, and I've been taken by some you see on the internet, and wow, that looks really interesting. You Snopes it, find out no, that's not true. The problem is, what if somebody hijacks Snopes? We just have to be inquiring.
All right, and I think we've got about 2.5 minutes left here on the show. Anything that you want to share with people that we haven't covered, including contact information and how they might be able to get involved in your campaign?
Well, indeed so. The first thing, I was listening to your messages as well, and Andrew, thank you for doing what you're doing. It is an AMA. It's an Ask Me Anything, and we just need that. And so it's a privilege to be able to share thoughts with good people. Yes, you can look into us at www.graysharp2020.com. Gray is Gray. Sharp, of course, has an E on the end. What a man, too. But graysharp2020.com, and things are there. Look into what I call One Man's Libertarian White Paper. I wrote it about a year ago or more, but it explains what a libertarian world would look like. Who is the winners? Who are the losers? The losers would be the crony capitalists, the people, the bureaucrats, teachers that can't teach. By the way, in New York City, you have quite a few of those that you're paying not to teach, which is an atrocity. But look at that, and if you have further information, I've pretty much written about everything. I'm against the death penalty because it simply doesn't work. All that. Go to JudgeJimGray.com. Gray is still spelled Gray, but JudgeJimGray.com, and you can contact me through there. You can contact us through our website, again, GraySharp2020.com. But I tell people, and I tell you, that, visit us, learn about us, join us, support us, help us move mountains, and if you do, or even if you don't, we will do you proud. We will do it. We will be leaders for unification and progress in America for everybody. Again, I was in the Peace Corps. I care about people. We have the ability to get our country back aimed in the right direction. I believe that deeply.
Great, awesome. Well, guys, you are listening to Judge Jim Gray. He is running for president as a libertarian in the 2020 election, and I want to thank you very much for the time that you spent on the show and the making yourself available to answer people's questions. I know there are questions still coming through in the comments that we don't have time to get to, but it sounds like people can reach out to you and hear from you in terms of getting those questions answered.
Well, and go to my podcast. It's All Rise, the Libertarian Way with Judge Jim Gray. It's on Voice America Network. So it's just a pleasure, Andrew. Maybe we can do it again, and we'll pick up more questions.
Awesome. Very good. Well, thank you so much again. And thank you to everybody who's been participating online, by the way. Those of you in the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And, of course, our listeners here on the radio airwaves. Definitely appreciate your guys' comments, your feedback, and your questions. And we will be back again tomorrow in the same time, same place here on Radio Free New York.